What is going on, guys? DragonTamerBlayde here, back with what will be the next expansion for the Elder Scrolls Legends. It was just announced yesterday. It is titled Houses of Morrowind, and strap in because we have a lot of stuff to go over. This expansion is going to be wild. Before we even get into it, I'm just telling you, it's going to be wild. So we'll get some, I guess, the smaller details out of the way, or I guess the most important details, depending on your point of view. Release date is March 29th. So today is the 17th, so we're just 12 days away from release. That's pretty crazy. I like that it's so new, or so soon. I'm excited about that. And we're going to get 149 new cards in this expansion. It is a pack-based expansion, so no story mode. You're going to be opening up these 149 cards through packs, 100 gold packs, and I'm sure there'll be some sort of not pre-order bundle. They usually do post-release bundles, a one-time purchase. Maybe they'll change that around this time, but it's usually like a with-release bundle you can purchase that gives you slightly better value than normally buying. So I would expect to see something like that. So we're going to look at the very first card in the article, and it's going to, I guess, raise more questions than answers if you haven't actually went through this announcement yet. So we'll pull it up right here, and it is Dagoth, I think is how you say it. I didn't play Morrowind very much, so if I'm saying things wrong, feel free to correct me. But the very first thing that you're going to notice is right up in this left corner. They moved the attributes up to the top left, which I think is a pretty cool change, and a pretty necessary change, because as you can see here, this is a tricolor card. There's 3 attributes. It's both strength, intelligence, and agility. And that's kind of one of the cornerstones of this Morrowind expansion, is they're releasing 5 new color combinations called houses, which are actually 3 color combinations. I believe on yesterday's stream, Pete Hines did say, moving forward in Arena, one of your 3 classes to pick will guaranteed be a house, and then the other 2 classes that you pick in Arena can be houses, but will not be guaranteed houses. So we've got houses coming in, and as you can see here, this is an incredibly powerful card. It's a 12 cost 8/8, with Breakthrough, Charge, Drain, Guard, Lethal, and Ward. Every single keyword besides Regenerate in one card. 12 cost 8/8 is crazy. But this is bonkers. This is just a bonkers card. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And when I was first reading this article and I saw this card, I thought 3 cards in one deck is a little, not broken, but definitely some balance concerns. And especially when you introduce a card like this into a 50-card deck, that could get bonkers. But this is where we will be. I guess Direwolf was one step ahead of us, Bethesda as well. They were thinking that could be broken, so let's address that now. So you will have options moving forward when you're building decks. If you want to stick to your normal class, let's say you want to build a normal Battle Mage deck, you pick your 2 colors plus neutral. It remains a minimum of 50 cards, and it used to be a max deck size of 70, but that's changing with this expansion. Deck size is actually, as you can see here, going up to 100. So what used to be a minimum of 50 or max of 70 is going to be minimum of 50, max of 100. But if you want to go pick one of our 5 new houses, if you want to run like Dagoth in your deck, your 3 colors you choose must be a minimum of 75 cards in your deck. I saw a Charmer mentioned on Twitter yesterday. It's kind of a, I don't know if this is technically the way they balance it, but you think of require 25 cards in the deck per color. And it definitely makes sense as like a kind of general rule of thumb. I know that's not how decks get built, but it makes sense as a kind of rule on paper to go by. So another thing they point out, it's 5 of 10 possible 3 attribute sets. So they are leaving the door open to introduce 5 more 3 attribute sets with our next expansion. So besides this crazy looking card, let's get on into some of the new cards as well as the new mechanics that we'll have coming forward. So another first house we're going to talk about is House Redoran. As you can see here, we get a 3 cost card named Knight of Nissus, I think is how you would pronounce this. 2 cost 2/3. With a summon, put a 2/2 Colovian Trooper with Guard in your hand. So that's pretty good because it started generating value. But on top of that, we got a new keyword named Rally. And the way the Rally keyword works is whenever this card fights or swings, attacks, does whatever, it's going to give a random creature in your hand +1/+1. So it's a really cool mechanic. I like the idea of hand buffing. I didn't quite like the way that Praetorian Commander and Echo of Akatosh did it. I think this is a much more balanced way to do it. I'm sure somebody will find a way to break this, but it'll be much harder to break. So you drop this guy on turn 3, get your Colovian Trooper in hand. Next turn, if he survives, you swing, and you potentially give +1/+1 to your Colovian Trooper, and I got a 2-cost 3/3 with guard. So we got a new keyword. I think Rally is a pretty cool keyword. I'm excited to see it. I think this is a decent card. I think it's going to be an amazing arena card. Possibly a pretty decent constructed card as well. I don't really know about that. But again, keep in mind for these new decks, so if you want to run House Redoran, you don't have to run this card. You can run this card in a normal dual attribute deck, but if you want to run a House Redoran deck, you're going to have to run 75 cards, making it slightly less likely that you're going to draw the Knight of Nissus. So moving on to House Telvanni, and we'll have another new type of card, which I have some questions about this one, but we'll get into it. So this is the combination of intelligence, agility, and endurance, which I think is the one that I'm most intrigued by. I love playing assassin decks. I like scout decks to an extent. Spell sword decks are pretty cool. I just think this has some pretty cool combinations. So looking at this, we have a 4-cost Drain Blood spell. Give a creature -2/-2. Instant comparison would be to Malefic Wreath, which is a 3-cost. Give a creature -2/-2. But we have a new mechanic, or a new keyword. I guess it'd be called a mechanic. And in this case, since it's not on an actual creature card, but it's called Betray. And the way Betray works is you'd cast your 4-cost Drain Blood, give a creature -2/-2. And then with the Betray keyword, you have the option to sacrifice a creature to play it again. So let's say I'm playing like Token Monk or something like that, or whatever. I play Drain Blood, give a creature -2/-2. I can then sacrifice a friendly creature, and then cast Drain Blood again. And I believe it's for free the second time. So for 4 Magicka and killing 1 creature, you can give 2 separate enemy creatures -2/-2. I don't think this card would be particularly great. But Betray is a difficult keyword to balance, because if you make the action too good, you're going to be glad to kind of, like, let's say you had Lightning Bolt. You can go 4 to the face, kill a friendly creature, and then go face again. So that's 4 Magicka, deal 8 damage to face. So this is definitely going to be a difficult keyword to balance. But again, I think it's an interesting keyword, interesting mechanic, and this might make Malefic Wraith sees no play. So sacrificing a weak friendly creature to give 2 different enemy creatures -2/-2 might just be good enough to make this kind of pushed into decks. The next one we got is House Hlaalu. Again, I don't know, man. I'm not good with these pronunciations. It's going to be Strength, Willpower, and Agility. First thought when I see those color combinations is this going to be an aggressive deck type. And as we have here, you see the 3-cost Hlaalu Sharpshooter. It's a Nord, 3-cost 2/3, with another new mechanic. We got mechanics on mechanics on mechanics out here, boys. Called Plot. It's kind of similar, if you play Hearthstone, to the combo mechanic. So in order to gain this Plot effect, you must play at least 1 other card this turn. So if I drop 0-cost card, 1-cost card, literally whatever, you play any other card first. When you play the Hlaalu Sharpshooter, you get silence a creature and then deal 1 damage to it. So it gets the Earthbone Spinner effect for 1 less Magicka as long as you play another card first. And it's got the stats of Earthbone Spinner switched, which could be decent because it could help this thing survive a little bit better than Earthbone Spinner does. Honestly, just more cheap and effective silence, and silence plus damage is crazy. I think it's super good. Earthbone Spinner already sees a ton of play, and I think this card will see a ton of play as well. And even in some cases, probably replacing Earthbone Spinner. But some decks may choose to run both if you want a ton of silence in your deck. Another super cool card. Next, we've got the Tribunal Temple, Intelligence, Willpower, and Endurance. And we've got yet another new mechanic. It's a 2-cost 2/2, the Vivek City Pilgrim. So it's a 2-cost 2/2 with Drain, which on base level, perfectly fine card. Not bonkers, but very good constructed playable, probably very good arena card. But it's also got the new mechanic called Exalt 3. And what the Exalt mechanic does is you have the option to pay whatever the Exalt cost is in addition to the normal card's cost to gain that effect. So for this particular card, you can play a 2-cost 2/2 with Drain, or you can pay 5 Magicka to play this card, and it'll get a 4/4 with Drain. So it just kind of makes cards more flexible. And this is what kind of makes me most excited about this mechanic is, normally, let's say you're end game and you're trying to finish your opponent and you're trying to trade it with some late game creatures. Drawing a 2-cost 2/2 is going to be a bummer. It may even be enough of a dead draw to kind of set you behind for the rest of the game. But if you're top decking and you pull this 2-cost 2/2, you could turn it into a 5-cost 4/4, and all of a sudden that's a very respectable creature. And it's got extra drain to get you back in the game. So I like cards that are flexible and can fill multiple roles at once, and that's why I'm most excited about the Exalt mechanic. So now let's get into another god. We saw Dagoth before, and now we're going to see another god called Vivek. 5-cost 5/5. This god is just one color, so you can play this in any kind of regular willpower deck. He's a 5-cost 5/5 with Exalt 3 + 5 + 5. So you can play 8 Magicka for a 10/10, and he also has the ability, while you have an exalted creature in play, you can't lose the game. So if you put like Embassy Disguise on him, Shadow Master, any number of things, loot would probably be decent for this guy's effect as well. As long as you have used the Exalt effect on a creature that is currently on the board, you can't die no matter what, which is crazy. I'm curious how that works when it comes to attacking. So let's say I have a Night Talon Lord on board, and my opponent has 7 health, and Vivek is in play and active. If I swing with my 8/8 to my opponent's 7 health, does his health just not change? Does it go down to 1? I'm curious how that works. I guess that's something we'll have to see when the expansion launches. But obviously, anything that can just flat out prevent you from losing is an incredibly powerful effect, and 5-cost 5/5 is decent enough as it is, and 8-cost 10/10 has Frost Troll stats and a pretty awesome effect, so it's a pretty solid card. Very good, I think. Next, we got House Dagoth, Strength, Intelligence, and Agility, and we've got another new card. No new mechanics on this one, but kind of expanding on mechanics that were slightly underused before. So we have a 5-cost 3/4 Ash Piercer, kind of similar to our Ash Servant, our 4-cost 2/2, deal 2 damage to a creature. But this one, if you have a creature with 5 power or more on the board, deal 3 damage to an opposing, or any creature actually, but more often than not, you're going to want to deal to an opposing creature. So I like the if you have a creature with 5 power or more mechanic. It's kind of similar to Berserker of the Pale. If you have a creature with 5 attack or more, give it +1/+1 and breakthrough. And East Empire Crafter, where 5 health, give it +1/+1 and guard. I like cards that are caring about specific stats or costs. Maybe even we'll see some cards care if you have a combination of stats. And 3 damage is pretty good. Ash Servant, I think, is fringe playable right now just for the 2 damage. I know it's like a firebolt on a stick, but that's almost good enough right now. Being able to deal 3 damage puts you into that next threshold of being able to kill creatures. So for example, the article mentions Blighted Elite. I'm thinking of a bunch of cards that have 3. This could kill your opponent's Mighty Ally. There's a lot of cards with 3 attack or less, or even if you're playing a card that needs to kind of whittle down your opponent's health a little bit first. Being able to push for the extra 3 damage instead of 2, I think, could make this card have an argument to be playable. Obviously, it remains to be seen what the meta looks like, but I think that 3 damage to 2 damage difference could be big enough to make a difference. So that's it for this article, but we have a couple other cards and things to show. From reveals have gotten underway. I think Justin and Charmer did a reveal yesterday. I think Racy Games Agile has a reveal coming up, as well as Bicky. So definitely keep an eye on the subreddit and Twitter and all that stuff for all the reveals we'll have coming out soon. But first, let's take a look at the reveal that I think Justin and Charmer did together yesterday. I think it was on their Fun and Interactive podcast. But we've got, I think it's Giub or Giub. 1 cost 1/1 neutral legendary. With the Slay effect, change into Saint Geob, Eradicator of the Winged Menace, and you see he turns into a 5/5 with Guard that can't be damaged by Cliff Racers, Cliff Hunters, and Cliff Striders. So the first thing that I saw when I saw this card was Cliff Racers. We already know that card, 5 cost 4/4 and agility with charge. But Cliff Hunters and Cliff Striders we don't have yet. So I'm assuming that these are going to be new cards as part of the set. And depending on their power level, I guess if they become popular, this could be a pretty decent thing. But when I was thinking about how decent this card could be, you go back to the stats and you think, this is a 1 cost, 1/1. It has a Slay effect, so you're going to have to try and keep this thing alive. But if you can, obviously, if you can kill something on turn 2 with this guy, that's a huge payoff on turn 2. So let's look a little further, or talk about some ways that maybe you'd be able to get some value out of this card. I know there's that mid-grow warrior deck that's going around right now. It's playing Steel Scimitars. So playing this on turn 1 with a Steel Scimitar to swing into something on turn 2, obviously more often than not will get that done. There are some 2-cost creatures with 3 attack that would be able to trade with this. But a lot of creatures you'd be able to, 1 cost and 2 cost creatures, you'd be able to trade into with this guy plus a Steel Scimitar. You'd also be able to consider it in some sorcerer, like Ward Sorcerer with Ward Crafters, maybe even playing Lesser Ward, stuff like that. May give you the extra not the stats, but the protection from damage you would need to trigger your Slay effect. Or if you're living the Ultra Neutral Dream, playing this guy on turn 1 into a Night Mother on turn 2, being able to trade into that 0/1 token, would get this guy going right off the bat. So it's definitely a pretty high risk, not high risk, but high difficulty effect to trigger, but with a pretty huge payoff if you can get it off. A 5 cost 5 or a 5/5 with Guard on turn 2 is pretty bonkers, especially if you're playing a pretty aggressive deck and you manage to get that going. That's some huge tempo in the early game, and your opponent's going to probably take at least turn 2 and turn 3 to answer just the 5/5, not counting what else you develop in the meantime. So it's pretty bonkers, and I like this kind of card. It gives us more 1-drops that might be played. Right now it's basically Ungolym, occasional Thornwell Terror, Steel Scimitar, and Scouting Patrol. Like, that's about it as far as cards that put creatures on the board for 1 cost. So putting something that has a potentially huge payoff like this out there is pretty awesome. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this gets going. They'll go for another one. CVH and Pete Hines revealed this on stream yesterday. The Archcannon Sarioni. It's a 4 cost 3/3 tricolor card, the Tribunal Temple. And the way it works is 4 cost 3/3. On summon, you choose a blessing from one of the Tribunal gods. And those blessings are Almalexia's Blessing. You give a friendly creature Drain and Guard. So with Thassil's Blessing, you summon a Spider Worker. That's the 0/1 that draws a card. Or Vivek's Blessing, give other friendly creatures +1/+1. And those actually are added into your hand as 0-cost actions. They revealed on stream yesterday. This card doesn't have any market synergy, but there's some action synergy in there. And then you also have the option of paying 7. So the exalt keyword is there, exalt 3. You can pay 7, and you'd gain all 3 blessings. So you'd be able to give a friendly creature Draining Guard, summon a Spider Worker, and give all other friendly creatures +1/+1. So there's probably some, when I was thinking about it with the 0-cost actions, kind of the token summoning with the Spider Worker, which also draws a card, and giving all your friendly creatures +1/+1, I was kind of thinking of, there's a lot of action, kind of like an action token type deck, playing your normal token deck, and then you have, I forget the name of the card, but it's a willpower card that whenever you whenever you cast an action, summons a 1/1 token. And there's also another willpower card, I think it's willpower, that whenever you cast an action, give another friendly creature +1/+1. So kind of like an action mage fused with a traditional token deck was kind of what I was thinking of when I read this card. And then you have 3 actions here triggering your action synergy. So you'd hit this, hit one of these, and then finish it off with giving everything +1/+1. You could have a fully buffed board at that point. Definitely a super interesting card. So that's it for creature reveals for now. But they also revealed there is a Dagoth card back. It's pretty cool looking. It's got little ladybugs in the backside. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, so don't quote me on it. But AJ, Solid Age, you see him on Twitter and Reddit, said, I think CVH also mentioned there's between 10 to 13 maybe card backs that are being added with this expansion. The way you can earn those card backs, there are some paid ones, they said, but also they're going to be entering the realm of earning card backs. So I think they said some of the card backs you'll earn by winning, I think they said 30 games with certain tribunals or certain temples, certain houses. There's also, I think CVH said there's going to be a card back to earn for hitting legend, and a couple other card backs as well that you can earn by doing separate things in game. So that's super cool as well. So I'm excited to see all those card backs being added to the game. Also excited to see the rest of the cards that'll be revealed throughout the next 2 weeks. But yeah, that's all I got for the expansion for now. Probably put out one more video before the expansion launches talking about some of the revealed cards. But yeah, super excited so far. The game is completely getting flipped on its head. It's basically going to be learning a brand new game come the 29th. And that's going to be super, super fun to see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the expansions, what decks you guys have been thinking about making so far, what you guys think of the new cards, what's your favorite new cards. Just let me know. I can't wait to talk to you guys about this. I'm super excited for this expansion. But yeah, that's going to be it for now, guys. As always, thank you all very, very much for watching. I'm DragonTamerBlayde, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.